My name is Cheryl Whitman, and I've spent my entire life being invisible. Tonight was supposed to change that. I stood alone in the corner of the gallery, my fingers wrapped tightly around a glass of cheap champagne. The white walls were adorned with my restored paintings, each one a testament to countless hours of painstaking work. But the room was nearly empty, save for a few wandering art enthusiasts who barely glanced my way. My phone buzzed, another notification. Hope flickered for a moment as I unlocked the screen, only to be crushed immediately. My family's group chat was exploding with excitement. "Way to go, champ," Dad wrote. "That's our boy," Mom chimed in. Even Felix, Jasper's twin, had posted a video of himself cheering from the stands. It was all about Jasper, his latest touchdown, his big moment. I took a long swig of champagne, wincing at its bitterness. Of course, they had forgotten. Why would tonight be any different? "Excuse me," a voice said, breaking into my thoughts. "Are you the artist?" I turned to see an elderly woman peering at me through thick glasses. "Oh, not exactly. I'm the restorer. I bring old paintings back to life." Her eyes lit up with fascination. "That must take incredible skill." A smile tugged at my lips, warmth spreading through my chest. "It does. Each piece is like a puzzle, figuring out the original artist's technique, matching colors perfectly." Before the conversation could continue, my phone lit up with an incoming video call. My mother's face filled the screen, Jasper's arm slung casually around her shoulders. "Oh, good! You picked up!" Her voice was bright, cheerful. "We wanted to share the moment with you. Jasper just scored the winning touchdown." I forced a smile. "That's great, Mom. Congratulations, Jasper." "Thanks, sis." Jasper's grin was wide and carefree. "Wish you could have been here." I swallowed back the sting of his words. Of course, I couldn't be there. I was at my own event, the one I told them about weeks ago. "So, what are you up to tonight?" Mom asked casually. I took a deep breath, gripping my champagne flute a little tighter. "Actually, Mom, I'm at my art exhibit. The one I've been working on for months, remember?" There was a pause, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes. "Oh, right, that's tonight." "Yes, Mom, tonight." She laughed nervously. "Well, that's wonderful, dear. I'm sure it's lovely. We'll have to stop by next time." "Next time." The words tasted bitter in my mouth. "Anyway, we should go. There's a celebration dinner for Jasper. Love you." The call ended abruptly. I stared at the blank screen, a familiar emptiness creeping in. "Family can be difficult," the elderly woman said softly. A bitter laugh escaped me. "You have no idea." She patted my arm gently. "Don't let their blindness dim your light, dear. Your work is extraordinary." As she walked away, I downed the rest of my champagne. The bubbles burned my throat, but it was nothing compared to the ache in my chest. I looked around the gallery, the proof of my passion, my dedication, and my family couldn't even be bothered to see it. Something inside me snapped. I was done being the forgotten daughter, the invisible sister. If they couldn't see me, I'd make damn sure they felt my absence. Pulling out my phone, I opened the family chat. My thumbs hovered over the keys for a moment before I typed, "Congratulations, Jasper. Hope you all enjoy the celebration. Don't worry about me. I won't be around to disappoint you anymore." I hit send. Then, with a deep breath, I blocked every number. It was time to write my own story. One where I was finally the main character. The next morning, I woke with a pounding headache and an unbearable hollowness in my chest. My phone sat silent on the nightstand, a stark reminder of my impulsive decision. Part of me wanted to take it all back, to apologize, to pretend everything was fine. but I knew I couldn't. Not this time. Dragging myself out of bed, I headed to the museum, hoping work would provide a much-needed distraction. The quiet halls, the familiar scent of oil paint. It all felt like an escape. I lost myself in the delicate work of restoring a faded landscape, carefully bringing each brushstroke back to life. "Excuse me," a voice interrupted my concentration. I was told I could find Cheryl Whitman here. I looked up to see a man with tousled dark hair and warm brown eyes. He held a guitar case in one hand and a crumpled flyer in the other. "That's me," I said, setting down my brush. "Can I help you?" He grinned, extending his hand. "I'm Elliot. I saw your exhibit last night. It was incredible." My heart skipped a beat. Someone had actually noticed. "You were there?" "I didn't see you." "I came late," he admitted, "but I couldn't stop thinking about your work. The way you breathe new life into forgotten masterpieces, it's like magic." A blush crept up my cheeks. "Thank you, that means a lot." His eyes sparkled with genuine enthusiasm. "Your art speaks volumes. It's like you're restoring more than just paintings." For a moment I was speechless. No one had ever described my work that way before. "Thank you," I managed. "That's exactly what I try to do." Elliot nodded, then gestured to his guitar case. "I'm a musician myself. I was wondering if you'd be interested in collaborating on a project. Your visual art, my music. I think we could create something really special." I hesitated. Collaborating with a stranger seemed risky, especially given my current emotional state. But something about Elliot's earnest expression made me want to trust him. "I'd like that," I found myself saying. "Why don't we grab coffee and discuss it?" As we sat in a nearby cafe, Elliot's passion for his craft was infectious. He spoke of melodies and harmonies the way I thought about colour and texture. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen, understood. "So, what inspired you to become an art restorer?" Elliot asked, sipping his latte. I paused, memories of childhood disappointments washing over me. "I've always loved bringing beauty back into the world," I said carefully. "Sometimes things get overlooked or forgotten, but that doesn't mean they're not valuable." Elliot's gaze softened. "Sounds like there's a story there." I took a deep breath, surprised by how easily I found myself opening up. "My family. They've never really understood my work, or me, for that matter. Last night was supposed to be my big moment, but they couldn't even be bothered to show up." "That must have hurt," Elliot said gently. I nodded, blinking back unexpected tears. "It did, but you know what? I'm done letting their opinions define me. I blocked them all last night. It's time I focus on my own happiness." Elliot reached across the table, squeezing my hand. "Good for you. It takes courage to stand up for yourself like that." His touch sent a jolt of electricity through me. I looked into his eyes and saw not pity, but admiration, understanding. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't experienced in a long time: hope. Just as things were looking up, reality came crashing down again. I was at the museum, carefully restoring a delicate watercolour, when my boss approached with a grim expression. "Cheryl, can I speak with you in my office?" My stomach dropped. I set down my brush and followed her. She closed the door behind us, her voice gentle but firm. "I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. Budget cuts, you understand?" I nodded numbly, barely hearing her reassurances about references and severance pay. It didn't matter. None of it did. As I packed up my desk, my phone buzzed. A message from Jasper. "Hey sis, guess what? Got promoted to head surgeon. Mum and Dad are throwing a huge party next week. You should come." A bitter laugh escaped me. "Of course. Another celebration I wasn't invited to. Another reminder of the golden child I could never be. When I got home, I found Elliot pacing the living room, his face pale. "Cheryl, we need to talk." Dread settled in my stomach. "What's wrong?" He ran a hand through his hair. "The bar owner called. They're shutting down. I'm out of a job." We stood in silence, the weight of it all pressing down on us. No jobs, mounting bills, and a family that didn't care. "What are we going to do?" I whispered. Elliot pulled me close. "We'll figure it out. We always do, remember?" But as the days dragged on, optimism gave way to desperation. We scoured job listings, took on freelance work, anything to keep our heads above water. I even swallowed my pride and called my parents, hoping, naively, that they might help. "I'm sorry, Cheryl," my father said, his voice cold. "But you made your choice. You can't expect us to bail you out now." I hung up, my hands trembling with frustration. That night, as Elliot and I sat at our kitchen table surrounded by unpaid bills, I felt the walls closing in. "Maybe," I started, hating the words even as they left my mouth. "Maybe we should consider moving back to my hometown, at least until we get back on our feet." Elliot's eyes widened. "Cheryl, no. After everything your family's put you through?" "I know," I said, my voice cracking. "But what choice do we have? We're drowning here." He took my hands in his gaze unwavering. "We have each other. That's all we need. We'll find a way. I promise." I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me as I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. How much longer could we hold on before everything fell apart? Despite our financial struggles, Elliot and I decided to move forward with our wedding plans. We couldn't afford much, but we were determined to celebrate our love on our own terms. The morning of the wedding, I stood in front of the mirror in Aunt Lorraine's spare bedroom, smoothing down my simple white dress. It wasn't the designer gown my mother had always imagined for me, but it felt right. Aunt Lorraine appeared behind me, her eyes misty. "You look beautiful, Cheryl." I turned to hug her. "Thank you for everything, Aunt Lorraine, for letting us have the wedding here, for supporting us." She squeezed me tight. "That's what family is supposed to do, sweetie." A knock at the door interrupted us. To my surprise, my parents stood there, looking uncomfortable in their formal wear. "Can we come in?" Mum asked hesitantly. I nodded, bracing myself. They entered, their eyes sweeping over me. "You look nice," Dad said awkwardly. "Thanks," I replied, the word feeling hollow. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. Finally, Mum spoke. "Cheryl, are you sure about this? It's not too late to reconsider." I clenched my jaw. "Reconsider marrying the man I love?" "You know what we mean," Dad interjected. "This whole situation, the tiny wedding, Elliot's unstable career, you deserve better." "Better than what? Love? Support? Someone who sees me for who I am?" I shot back. Mom sighed. "We just want you to have a secure future." "My future is with Elliot," I said firmly. "If you can't accept that, maybe you shouldn't be here." They exchanged a look. Then stiffly, Dad said, "We'll see you at the ceremony." As they left, I exhaled shakily. Aunt Lorraine squeezed my shoulder. "Don't let them ruin your day, honey. This is about you and Elliot." The ceremony was small but beautiful, held in Aunt Lorraine's backyard. As I walked down the makeshift aisle, I saw Elliot beaming at me, his eyes filled with love. In that moment, all my doubts melted away. Our vows were simple but heartfelt. "Cheryl," Elliot said, his voice thick with emotion, "you've shown me what it means to truly be seen and loved. I promise to stand by you, to support your dreams, and to remind you every day how amazing you are." Tears streamed down my face as I replied, "Elliot, you've given me the strength to be myself. I promise to love you fiercely, to face whatever challenges come our way together, and to never let you forget how much you're valued." As we shared our first kiss as husband and wife, I caught sight of my parents in the small crowd. Their expressions were unreadable, a mix of resignation and something else I couldn't quite place. At the modest reception, I overheard my father talking to Jasper. "It's not what we imagined for her," he murmured, glancing around at the humble decorations. Anger bubbled up inside me, but before I could speak, a familiar voice cut in. "I think it's perfect," Grandma Mabel said, appearing at my side. "It's a celebration of love, not a show of wealth." She turned to me, her eyes twinkling. "Cheryl, dear, I have something for you." From her purse she pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a stunning antique necklace, delicate gold filigree, surrounding a deep blue sapphire. "This has been in our family for generations," Grandma Mabel explained. "I always planned to give it to the grandchild who truly understood the value of family. That's you, Cheryl." As she fastened the necklace around my neck, a wave of emotion washed over me. This was more than just jewelry. It was acceptance, love. "Thank you, Grandma," I whispered, hugging her tightly. As the reception continued, I caught my mother eyeing the necklace with a mix of surprise and something that almost looked like jealousy. But I pushed those thoughts aside. Today wasn't about them. It was about Elliot and me and the life we were building together. As we danced under the twinkling lights, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Whatever challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, surrounded by the people who truly loved us for who we were. Three months after our wedding, Grandma Mabel insisted on hosting a family gathering for her 80th birthday. Despite my reservations, Elliot and I decided to go. We hadn't seen my family since the wedding, and I hoped that time had softened some of the tension. As we pulled up to Grandma's sprawling Victorian home, a knot formed in my stomach. Elliot squeezed my hand reassuringly. "We've got this," he whispered. Inside, the atmosphere was strained. My parents greeted us with forced smiles, while Jasper and Felix barely acknowledged our presence. Only Grandma Mabel seemed genuinely happy to see us, enveloping me in a warm hug. "I'm so glad you're here, dear," she said. "I have a special announcement to make later." I had no idea how much that announcement would change everything. "Maybe this wasn't such a good idea," I murmured. Elliot squeezed my hand. "We'll face this together, remember? You've done nothing wrong." The moment we stepped inside, the tension was palpable. My parents sat stiffly on the couch, while Jasper and Felix paced the room like caged animals. The weight of unspoken words and unresolved resentment filled the air. "Sit down," my father commanded, his voice cold. I took a deep breath and sat, Elliot a steady presence beside me. "This has to stop, Cheryl," my mother began, her voice trembling with barely contained anger. "You need to renounce the inheritance. It's not fair to your brothers." A slow fire ignited in my chest. "Not fair? When has anything ever been fair in this family?" Felix slammed his hand on the coffee table. "This isn't fair, Cheryl," he argued, his entitlement clear. "We deserve it just as much as you." "Deserve it?" I shot back, years of pent-up frustration bubbling to the surface. "What exactly have you done to deserve it, besides being the golden children who could do no wrong?" Jasper stepped forward, his face red. "That's rich coming from you, always playing the victim, never taking responsibility for your own failures." "Failures?" Elliot interjected, his voice sharp. Cheryl is incredibly talented and hardworking. Just because her success doesn't fit your narrow definition, stay out of this, my father snapped. This is a family matter. I stood up, anger coursing through me. Elliot is my family, the only one who's truly supported me. My mother's eyes filled with tears. How can you say that? We've always wanted what's best for you. No, I said, my voice steady. You've always wanted what you thought was best for me. You never bothered to ask what I wanted, what would make me happy. And this makes you happy? Jasper sneered, taking advantage of Grandma's senility. My hands clenched into fists. How dare you? Grandma is of sound mind, and she made this decision because she sees me for who I am, something none of you have ever bothered to do. Enough, my father roared. Cheryl, you will renounce this inheritance, or you'll no longer be welcome in this family. The room fell silent. I looked around at the faces of my family, the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, and saw only anger, resentment, and greed. The last threads of hope I had clung to, the hope that one day they might see me, value me, love me, snapped. No, I said, my voice quiet but firm. What did you say? My mother gasped. I straightened my spine, meeting each of their gazes in turn. I said no. I won't renounce the inheritance. Grandma made her decision, and I'm honouring it. Felix lunged forward, but Elliot stepped between us. Back off, he warned. You ungrateful little... Jasper started, but I cut him off. I'm done, I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. I'm done trying to earn your love, your approval. I'm done dimming my light to make you comfortable. This inheritance isn't just about money. It's about recognizing my worth, something you've never been able to do. I turned to my parents, seeing the shock on their faces. You said I wouldn't be welcome in this family if I didn't renounce the inheritance. Well, let me make it easy for you. I don't want to be part of a family that only values me when I'm giving them something. I took Elliot's hand, drawing strength from his presence. We're leaving now. Don't try to contact us. As we walked out the door, I heard my mother's sobs and my father's angry shouts. But for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. In the car, Elliot turned to me, his eyes filled with concern and pride. Are you okay? I took a deep breath, feeling lighter than I had in years. You know what? I think I am. For the first time, I'm really okay. As we drove away from my childhood home, I realized that this wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning, a chance to build a life filled with love, respect, and true family. The kind that sees you for who you really are. 2 years after the explosive confrontation with my family, Elliot and I stood hand in hand on the balcony of our new home. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the bustling art district below. It was a far cry from the cramped apartment we had shared when we first got married. Can you believe it? Elliot whispered, squeezing my hand. We did it, Cheryl. We built this together. I leaned into him, feeling a sense of peace I'd never known before. It's more than I ever dreamed possible. The inheritance from Grandma Mabel had been a turning point, but it wasn't just about the money. It was the validation, the recognition of my worth, that had given me the strength to pursue my passions without fear or guilt. We had used the funds to open a small gallery, showcasing both my restored artworks and Elliot's music. It had been a risk, but one that paid off beyond our wildest expectations. People were drawn to the unique combination of visual and auditory art, and soon we had gained a reputation as innovators in the local art scene. As we gazed out at the city, I thought about how far we had come, the struggles, the doubts, the painful severing of toxic family ties. It had all led us here. Cheryl, Elliot's voice pulled me from my thoughts. There's something I want to show you. He led me back inside to his music room where a canvas stood covered in the corner. With a flourish, he pulled off the cloth, revealing a stunning portrait of me. But it wasn't just me as I was now. The painting showed different versions of myself at various ages, from a wide-eyed child to the woman I had become. Each version was emerging from shadows into light, growing stronger and more vibrant. Elliot, I gasped, tears welling in my eyes. It's beautiful. But I thought you were a musician, not a painter. He grinned sheepishly. I've been taking lessons in secret. I wanted to show you how I see you, how you've always been this incredible, resilient person, even when others couldn't see it. I threw my arms around him, overwhelmed by the love and understanding in this gesture. This was what true family meant, seeing and celebrating each other's growth, supporting each other's dreams. As we held each other, the doorbell rang. Puzzled, I went to answer it. To my shock, Aunt Lorraine stood there, looking nervous. I hope I'm not intruding, she said hesitantly. I wanted to see how you were doing. I invited her in, a mix of emotions swirling inside me. As we sat in the living room, she looked around in awe. This place is amazing, Cheryl. You've really made something beautiful here. Thank you, I said, still cautious. But why are you here, Aunt Lorraine? She sighed, her eyes filling with tears. I've been thinking a lot about family lately, about the mistakes we've made, the hurt we've caused. I wanted you to know that I'm proud of you, Cheryl, for standing up for yourself, for building this life. Her words hit me like a wave, washing away the last remnants of doubt and guilt I had been carrying. That means a lot, Aunt Lorraine. Thank you. As she was leaving, she paused at the door. Your parents and brothers, they're starting to realize what they've lost. They might not be ready to admit it yet, but they miss you. I nodded, feeling a twinge of sadness but no regret. If they ever want to be part of my life again, they'll have to accept me for who I am, all of me. After she left, I found Elliot in the gallery downstairs, tuning his guitar for tomorrow's performance. He looked up as I entered, his face softening at my expression. You okay? He asked. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. More than okay. I'm happy, Elliot. Truly, deeply happy. As we stood there, surrounded by the art we had created together, I knew one thing for certain. I was no longer the forgotten daughter. I was finally seen,